Are you sure you will enter heaven? If right now your heart stops beating, where will you go? Are you certain that the gates of heaven will open to welcome you? Perhaps you will think, I am a good person. I have never killed anyone, never defrauded. I try to help others when possible. If heaven is a place for those who live honestly, shouldn't I also have a place? This is the thinking of many people, that heaven is like a reward for those who have reached the standard, a destination reserved for those who are good enough. But what if I tell you that this is not true? What if I say that maybe you are completely misunderstanding heaven? Try to imagine a situation. You are standing before the gates of heaven, but instead of being welcomed, you feel uncomfortable, lost, and even want to turn away. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Why would a person who yearns for heaven refuse it? But the truth is, this has happened, and not just to one person, but to many people. Writer C.S. Lewis, one of the greatest Christian thinkers of the 20th century, had a very different perspective on heaven. In the book, The Great Divorce, he writes, "Heaven is not a reward for good people, but a place only those who truly want it can enter." What does this mean? If heaven is not a reward for moral people, then what is its true nature? And if someone refuses to enter, what are they refusing? Let's explore the answer through C.S. Lewis's profound perspective. Heaven is not a reward, but a choice. C.S. Lewis painted a very different picture of heaven in The Great Divorce. While many people think that heaven is a reward for those who live uprightly and do good, Lewis argues that heaven is not a reward that you receive after meeting moral standards. On the contrary, it is a reality that you can only enter if you truly yearn for it. This may sound confusing, but imagine, you cannot go to a place that you yourself do not desire, no matter how good that place is. A person who lives their whole life turning their back on God, seeking joy and meaning in things outside of Him, can they suddenly feel happy when entering the full presence of God? The story in The Great Divorce vividly illustrates this. Lewis imagined a special bus taking souls from hell to heaven, giving them a chance to stay there. But strangely enough, when they arrived, many passengers did not want to stay. They voluntarily returned to hell, even though no one forced them. The doors of hell are locked on the inside. This saying of C.S. Lewis has a profound meaning. Hell is not a place where God arbitrarily imprisons people. It is a place where people imprison themselves because they cannot give up themselves to enter heaven. These souls are not driven away by God, but they choose to leave Him because they cannot accept the reality of heaven. There is no more ego, no more personal ambitions, no more anything but the omnipotent presence of God. But sadly, there are people who do not want that. They have become too accustomed to the world they control, to the things they cling to the point of being unable to leave them to enter a place that completely belongs to God. This is completely consistent with the teaching of the Bible. Matthew 7:13-14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Heaven is not a wide road that everyone automatically enters. It requires a real choice, a renunciation of what belongs to the world to completely belong to God. This means God does not force anyone to enter heaven. God does not selectively choose only the worthy. Only those who truly want to belong to Him can live in His presence. C.S. Lewis wants us to understand that heaven is not just a reward that you receive after death. It is a reality that you must learn to desire from now on. If you do not yearn for God in this life, Can you yearn for Him in eternity? If heaven is not the place you desire most, do you truly belong there? Heaven is not a place that you can enter reluctantly. It is a place only for those who truly yearn for it, and that is why there are people who refuse heaven, even when they have the opportunity. Why do many people not want to stay in heaven? They do not want to give up control. Matthew 16:24. Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." C.S. Lewis describes heaven not as a place where people can live according to their own will, but as a place where they completely belong to God. There is no room for self-control, no room for personal ambitions or independent will that is not under His guidance. But the problem lies in the fact that people do not easily give up control of their lives. Think about this. Throughout their lives, people always want to control their own destiny. They want to decide everything themselves, want to be the center of the story, want to control the future in the way they desire. But when they enter heaven, they have to accept a reality. There is only one being who is the center, and all that people can do is submit to Him. No one can enter heaven with their hands still tightly clutching their sins, and this has become a major obstacle. Those who are accustomed to deciding their own lives, those who do not want to give up ambition, arrogance, or even the small things they cling to, will feel heaven as a foreign place. Not because they are not allowed to be there, but because they do not want to belong to a place where they cannot control themselves. C.S. Lewis likens this to a soul that does not want to open its hands to receive the gift of heaven, because in their hands they are still tightly clutching what belongs to the world. And so, they cannot keep both things. Either they must let go of their ego to enter, or they will choose to leave. They want heaven on their own terms. John 14:6. Jesus answered, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." One of the biggest misconceptions of people is thinking that they can enter heaven in their own way. They believe that if they live kindly, do good deeds, help others, then they are qualified to enter. But C.S. Lewis points out a hard-to-accept truth. There are people who say they want to enter heaven, but they want a heaven without God. What does this mean? Imagine a person who throughout their life does not put God at the center, does not want to live according to what He teaches, but desires to enter heaven simply because they think it is a place of joy, peace, and happiness. But heaven is not a place where people can arbitrarily set conditions. It is not a tourist destination with amenities that everyone can enter and enjoy. Heaven is a place filled with the presence of God, where every soul completely submits to Him. If a person does not truly love God, if they do not really want to belong to Him, then staying in heaven will not be joy, but an unbearable discomfort. C.S. Lewis likens this to a person who wants to enter heaven, but does not want to give up what belongs to themselves. They want to keep their own views, their own lifestyles, even their passions and desires, but at the same time want to enjoy the glory of heaven. But that is impossible. It is not that God refuses them, but that they cannot accept a heaven where God is the center. And so they automatically leave that place, not because they are driven away, but because they cannot love a place that is not according to their own will. They think they do not need God to be happy. Psalm 16:11. You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. C.S. Lewis emphasizes an important point. Heaven is not a place with things that make us happy, but the presence of God itself is the greatest joy. But the problem is that many people do not believe that God is the source of happiness. They believe that they can find happiness in other ways: fame, wealth, love, career, the pleasures of the world. And when they are accustomed to creating happiness for themselves, they do not feel the need for God. We cannot find true happiness by pursuing it. We can only find it when we pursue God. Mere Christianity. If a person does not find joy in the presence of God while still alive, can they feel joy when they have to live eternally with Him? Heaven is not like a luxurious resort with the material rewards that people desire. There, the only joy is being with God. But if someone does not feel joy because of this, if they think they can create happiness without God, then heaven will not be a place for them. They will find themselves lost. They will not want to stay in a place where everything revolves around God instead of revolving around themselves. And so they will leave. Do you really want heaven right now? Put God first in life. Lewis emphasized that if you truly want heaven, it must be evident from how you prioritize God in this life. Heaven cannot be a distant thing that you only think about when nearing death. If you put work, money, fame, or anything else above God right now, then when heaven appears, you will not find it attractive, because the things you truly desire are not there. A person who spends their whole life pursuing wealth will not feel heaven as home, because there is no money for them to accumulate there. A person who only seeks joy from the world will not be able to feel joy in God, because that is a kind of happiness they have never known. Lewis wants us to understand that if you do not train your heart to love God right now, you will not be able to love Him in eternity. Accept that God is the true source of happiness. One of the biggest mistakes of people is believing that they can find happiness outside of God. Many people think that heaven is a place full of what they love: family, friends, beautiful scenery, peace. But heaven is not a list of amenities designed to serve our personal desires. You cannot find true joy by pursuing it. You can only find it when you pursue God. Mere Christianity. C.S. Lewis emphasized that if your joy does not come from God right now, you will not be able to feel joy in heaven. Heaven is not a place for you to continue pursuing your personal passions. It is a place where God is the center, and only those who find joy in Him can truly belong there. Live according to God's will. Do not just say you believe in God. Many people believe that just by confessing faith in Jesus, it is enough to enter heaven. But C.S. Lewis warned that faith is not just a statement, it must be a real transformation in your way of life. Lewis emphasized that if you do not live according to God's will right now, then when facing heaven, you will feel lost. Not because you are refused, but because you have never belonged there. You cannot enter heaven by simply saying you want it. You must live as a citizen of heaven right now. This does not mean that you have to be perfect, but it means that your faith must be shown through how you live. If you truly desire heaven, let your life reflect that from today. Conclusion. Heaven is a choice. Are you opening the door for heaven right now? Revelation 3:20. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me. The picture C.S. Lewis painted is not a distant heaven that you can only reach after death. Heaven begins right in this life, right in how you choose to live each day. God is knocking on the door, not just on the last day, but right now, in this very moment. But the question is, are you ready to open the door? If you truly want heaven, start living as a citizen of heaven from today. Put God first. Find joy in Him. Let your faith not just be a word, but a way of life. Now is the time to choose. No one is forced into heaven, nor is anyone forced into hell. What you desire today will determine where you belong forever. The Great Divorce. Are you ready to choose heaven? If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of history. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.